Hey, Tim, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So I'm Tim Bassa. I'm Vice President of Sales for AppSmart. And AppSmart operates a platform that empowers independent technology advisors, could be VARs, MSPs, telecom consultants, website developers, to help select solutions from our portfolio of the biggest solution providers in the world. Could be Google, Microsoft, AT&T, Comcast. We consolidated all those resources onto a single platform to help technology advisors provide amazing solutions to their clients. And then they also earn residual income from that. So we help them improve their client relationships and then also grow revenue with AppSmart using our platform, people and processes.
Cool. And it looks like you've done both sales and marketing.
Yeah, sales and marketing my whole career, Brian. I hate to, I'm sort of aging myself now, but right out of college in 1994, I took a 100% commission sales job against the better wishes of my parents. And I started selling long distance services door to door. And I fell in love with the whole process of creating engagement, finding a need, filling the need, sort of the old school stuff you talk about. And I've had the unique pleasure over 26-ish years now to sell, I think, in every type of business, from a junkyard to a Fortune 50 in a Fortune 50 boardroom. So it's been quite a journey.
And how do you like the leadership side of it?
Yeah, I like the leadership side. I think of it more as coaching. I was a college basketball player. I'm 6'10". I know it's hard to tell on Zoom. And when I got promoted to my first management job, my boss said, "Do you think you can handle this?" And, of course, I'm young and ambitious. I said, "Sure." But all I knew about coaching or about leading was from coaching or being coached. So I structured my first sales team the same way I was taught how to be an athlete, which is you practice, you review tape, you play games, you practice, you review tape, you play games, you look at the numbers don't lie, and you adjust based on the numbers. And that evolved over time. I look at today, even my role as a leader is just to help create the right outcomes using all the inputs, and then also give people the ability to rewind the tape and start over. People get anchored into habits, and sometimes the best way to break them is to give them the permission to restart their career, even in the same role.
Yeah, I think that's a great view. And you're the second person over like 6'6", ex-basketball player to be on the show. So this seems to be a high correlation.
One more, we have a 3-on-3 team. You can be our coach.
Yeah. And he was door to door as well. And I
really?
go, what was it like when they look through the peephole and see your belt buckle?
Yeah, Brian, I have stories for days about cold calling for sure. So my first job was cold calling. And then my first sales teams were all over the Midwest and the metropolitan. Think about the Great Lakes region and all those major cities, Cleveland, Columbus, Detroit, Chicago. And we all went door to door. So lots of stories. But one thing I learned really quick, and this is applicable for any salesperson, is proximity, right? So I'll give you a quick story. If I sat down, if someone said, "Hey, have a seat," the receptionist says, "Hey, have a seat. Brian will be right with you." The first thing that happened when Brian walked out and I stood up was all he saw was my height. Yeah. So I made a rule to never take a seat. So that when the person I was meeting with came around the corner, opened the door and saw me, they could see me and I could start to gauge distance, like before I shake their hand, because I don't want to stand up right in someone's face, because they walk over, you're sitting there standing and shake your hand, then I stand up. It was really awkward. Yeah. So lots of things that I had to learn about my size, not to be intimidating, and then just to have fun with it, right? You can't be
it's almost a built-in icebreaker.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was almost always my opening line. For sure.
And plus, it's not one of those awkward ones.
Yeah.
Like say you were 500 pounds or something, right? That's an awkward one.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, or even anything that can be distracting, right? The color of your suit, your necktie, your hairstyle. So you're trying to be neutral going into a prospect appointment, whether that's at an SMB or an enterprise. But the unique thing about height is it does give you some level of presence. And I learned to embrace that as I got older, for sure.
And what is your sale like today? Is how complicated is it? Who do you call on? How many people get involved in the decision?
Yeah, so today at AppSmart, we're in a really unique position in that we're working with independent sales agencies all over the country. So think about our agents the same way you would think about an Allstate insurance agent or a Remax agent. We're the brand behind the scenes empowering those transactions. So a lot of what I do is help coach and navigate folks who are selling. Our team, even my field sales team, is coaching other sales teams to navigate, in some cases, very simple transactions, Brian. It could be upsell, cross-sell. So one thing that a lot of people we find, they have 500 customers, they've sold the same silo of services for 20 years, but now there's a lot of competition. So we teach them how to leverage that asset, which is their customer base, to do upsell, cross-sell, introduce new products. But we also do very complex sales. So data center, infrastructure as a service, cybersecurity. And in some of those cases, you have somebody who's maybe sold SMB or mid-market, and it's their first time navigating enterprise. Yeah. And it's a whole different thing. They're used to selling one-to-one. They meet with the business owner, and the business owner says, go ahead, Brian, we got it. And they ink a deal for whatever, 200 Microsoft seats. Selling to enterprise, when it's a global business, there's multiple decision makers, coordinating that process. That's a whole different strategy. So what we spend a lot of our time with is coaching, strategizing, making sure people aren't leaving out something that could be obvious that helps advance their solution to the next level inside an enterprise.
And I see that as kind of like one of the key mistakes that's going on today, especially with a lot of people are focusing on product led.
Yes.
You make it so easy to get the product at near free.
Yes.
And you upsell. The problem is the near free is a simple sale or transactional sale, but the enterprise thing, whether it's, 10K or 10 million,
yes,
it's very complicated. And reps, that's a different game.
Well, for sure. And reps will say things like the freemium model is a great example, Brian. Yeah. So make it really simple versus enterprise for a second. Reps will say, I don't understand. It's going to save them money.
Right.
It's free or it's almost free. I don't understand why they won't do it. The problem is that you don't understand. That's the problem. So you have to figure out what you don't understand. Who doesn't want it? Does it require a lot of change? There's still a cost to free. If I have to change from one product to another, or I have to implement something new in my organization, whether it's 10 people or 10,000 people, there's a cost to that. So that transactional mindset, or I don't want to be insulting to a sales rep because I'm one of you, but it's a simple mindset when you say, hey, the cost is right, the timing is right. They said they wanted it, but they won't do it. Well, that's like, I want a new car sometimes, but trust me, the change of getting out of one car, getting into the other, cleaning out my glove box, reprogramming the Bluetooth, my favorites in the GPS, ugh. Imagine what's happening in an enterprise when they have 10,000 employees or some other, or even an SMB when Betty, who is the office manager, she has to change. So sometimes Brian, the owner, wants to change. His biggest fear is Betty's going to be mad, right? Yep. So you got to understand a little bit more.
And how have you done that? Is it just conversations, case studies?
It's so all of the above. I think sales reps are lazy by nature, and it takes one to know one, man. A lot of people who talk about sales have never carried a bag. Yeah. So some of the stuff that I'm saying is from me doing it. I know the difference between when I was a lazy rep and I was a prepared rep. There's a big difference. Not much more effort, but big difference in results. So I think it's all the above. You have to create some mental models and a sales kit where you have testimonials, whether those are in writing or in video. You have to have sample project plans. And project plans that are related to different parts of the buyer's table, operational, sales and marketing. A lot of technology intertwines between departments. So really building up, taking the time and expending the energy in building up a sales process for yourself, whether you're a one-man shop or you have 15 salespeople or 500 salespeople, simple things like having an agenda for a meeting, following up with meeting minutes and action items, like you're managing the prospect, asking the why questions over and over. I use a framework that's 5 W's and an H. It's who, what, when, where, why, how, right? And if you just keep that in your mind, who should be in the meeting, who's not in the meeting, why are they doing this, when are they going to implement, why wouldn't they implement, and who should be involved in the go, no go, like all these little things, right? It's just mental tricks, and I'm making those notes all the time. So I think it starts with just creating a structure and a cadence that works for your business, and making some things in your process non-negotiable. Really tight on non-negotiables, because you won't spend cycles on fake stuff, right?
Yeah. And how many of these reps report directly to you? Are your employees versus your channel partners?
Yeah, so there's around 30 people on our channel team, and then channel partners, we're just over 5,000 channel partners nationwide. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's great. Like I see, the greatest thing to see is these small to medium-sized business owners grow their business as they adopt new technologies from AppSmart, or they learn, they just have a light bulb day that goes on. We did a sales coaching, Brian, you could relate to this, where everybody's been, they have Zoom fatigue, and they're overscheduled, but their performance was sort of flatlined, this team we talked to. And what we talked to them about is just own the beginning and the end of your day. So think about if you owned a 7-Eleven, right? You'd come in every morning, you'd shut off the alarm, you'd count your drawer. A lot of us worked in fast food as a kid, so there's an opening sequence and a closing sequence. We told them, look, guys, if you just own the beginning and the end, so the beginning, you're going to do these 10 things. And then before you even look at your email, like what your inbox, you're going to send your 5 follow-ups, your 5 new, whatever the cadence is. Like we agreed on a cadence. And then before you close, you're going to have a closing routine. And those things are non-negotiable. Their sales results immediately went up when they put that discipline in their day. The middle is free time. Like you can schedule that however you want, but own the beginning and the end. Like if you owned a 7-Eleven or a Subway, and that made all the difference. So sometimes it's that little turn, and that gets me fired up.
Well, that's it, because a lot of reps either aren't mature enough or don't have the structure, and they kind of need that personal trainer piece, where experienced reps, they got the discipline. They're there early. They've got a system.
Yes.
But they need someone else's help, a coach.
Yeah.
Everybody, the best reps want a coach and need a coach.
For sure. Yeah. And it's also, you can't take coaching as second guessing. You take it as a thought partner. Sometimes you just need a thought partner because you're in the deal. You need somebody who's above the deal. Yeah. Like if I was talking to you, and you're stuck, I might say, okay, Brian, that's great. You're talking, you have the CIO, CEO, you have the C-suite. Are you aligned operationally with the business stakeholders? And then they might say something like, yeah, I'm aligned, one level below the COO at the headquarters. Okay, great. But what about the field? Like if you're selling Home Depot, for example, I can't go into too many details, but a long time ago, I worked Home Depot, and the sale was made not based on the C-suite or even the executives we were working with. It was made based on talking to the people in the store and taking the store needs up to the C-level, making them aware of specific cases, and then pinning solutions to those cases. Right. That's what started the trial and eventually a full implementation. Was we took the time, our team took the time to talk to the store. As we were traveling around the country, we went to stores and interviewed people live, and then we presented all that data to the team at the enterprise, and they said, wow, you took the time. And we had names, Brian Burns, Illinois, store 792. Right. It said this, and they couldn't believe it. So we thought a little bit like a lawyer. How are we going to build a case that showed the value and close the sale? And we weren't closing a sale. It was a start of a relationship.
Yeah. And I think that the days of the C-suite mandating a change that doesn't have buy-in, I think that's 30 years old.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why, like, you're a student of this stuff. So when you see things on LinkedIn, sell to the C-suite, sometimes they're preying on people being naive to sales. You have to know how to manage the C-suite for sure. And the C-suite could be an owner of a standalone auto parts store or big. Yeah. They're involved. But what they want is they want their team to be successful.
People coming to them.
Yeah.
Unless it's like some observational thing like the CRM, like the Salesforce, you don't sell to the salespeople. because they're
Right.
like, get out of here. This is work.
Right.
You got to sell to the managers. It's like,
Right.
oh, we need some, historical data. We need some data about the people. So if the rep leaves.
Yeah. And even then you make a great point about Salesforce. They make, and any great sales team, world-class sales team, they make it so easy for you to buy their product.
Yeah.
So they give you all the evidence. So if I was selling to you and I knew you had to sell to your operational committee and to your marketing team, like think about Salesforce, all the tentacles that come off that. They have a sales kit for every single business owner.
Yeah.
They know how to sell at every level. So if you're the salesperson at Salesforce or selling enterprise to enterprise in a sophisticated operation, you do the work for the buyers. So when they go to their exec team meeting or their CRM committee meeting, the work is easy because as the seller, you've done it all for them. You make the decision easy, right?
So what drives you?
Well, I think what drives me as I get older, Brian, is different than when I was younger. What drives me now at AppSmart is really simple. I want to evangelize our story and create success with more independent advisors. I've seen people change their lives with our business model.
Yeah.
So somebody who is a community, I'll call them a community, they work in a state or within 3 hours of their house, they're a small MSP, and there's so much to do to expand their business that they often don't expand because it's complex. AppSmart takes the complexity out of the expansion. We have the relationships with all the suppliers. We have a platform that makes it easy to find, buy, and manage services for their clients and makes it easy for them to source, select, and sell, and then earn commission. So my real mission now is to expose the opportunity to as many people as I can and help change those businesses forevermore. Put reoccurring revenue into their business model so they don't have the Dow Jones sales months. If they're used to selling a widget and making $100, what about making $100 a month? To me, that's exciting. So I'm about expanding right now, just really expanding the AppSmart brand. It's a business I've been part of, this agent community my whole career, and no one has ever done what we're doing, which is create a national brand and really take our opportunity and make it extensible to the masses versus just this little niche of telco nerds. I say that affectionately to all the nerds out there.
That's good. But, how about as far as a leader, what excites you with your people?
Yeah. My favorite thing is when I expose them to information that sticks. Yeah. So I'm a voracious reader. I love to learn. I love what you do in the community to raise people's awareness about things. So anytime that I can say something to my sales team or to our agent community, and this sounds a little bit selfish here, but you asked, and then months later, maybe I'm at an event and someone comes up to me and says, "Hey man, that thing you said about handwritten notes, I thought it was bullshit, but then I started sending 25 a week and man, it made a difference." Like I just got goosebumps saying that. That fills me up. It makes me want to keep doing what I do. Sometimes, what we do sounds corny. It's sales, it has a stigmatism, you're a sales guy, but someone shifts from sending a ton of emails to sending some direct mail, or they stop doing weekly sales meetings for their sales team because their sales team was leading them. They weren't leading the sales team, and they went back to having meetings. Just those little things, when someone tells me, "Hey, that made a difference, Tim. I started using meeting minutes. That made a difference." Just sometimes it's silly stuff, the fundamentals, that fills my tank.
Well, that's it. Because a lot of times it's not like this huge thing. It is a lot of little things. And I've seen this teaching salespeople. It's rarely huge things. A lot of it's little things.
Yeah, I tell people just half a dozen things makes 100% of the difference. So there's lots of information out there. You have lots of great information. There's lots of information you can pay for. There's lots of information you can get with a library card and a couple hours worth of research. Just have a major and a minor, just like college. You're going to major in accounting, minor in marketing, whatever it is. But don't get caught up in all the shiny balls. Just focus on some fundamentals, and those will bear results, especially with young reps. They get caught up in this like hustle porn that's on the internet with all, maybe doing great work, but the Grant Cardones and Gary V's and all those folks, look, some of the stuff they say is very meaningful, but nobody's an overnight success. So that's a big deal to me. Like, it takes time to make the big time.
And if you just build in that that learning circle that you started with, practice, play, review.
Yes.
Because that never changes.
Nope. Never changes. And that hasn't changed since the beginning of time in anything. If you're a cook, think about it. If you're a cook, you make a dish, you feed it to your family says it's a little salty. You make it next Friday, you adjust the salt, you make it again. They say, hey, it's better, but could you use more, whatever, oregano, I don't know. And you keep adjusting. Sales is science. There's a little science to it. It's test and repeat, test, adjust, repeat. And you have to approach it that way. That's why oftentimes athletes make great salespeople. Also, engineers, I've seen engineers who are very process driven. If they have the personality and desire, they make the shift to sales engineer and then eventually to individual contributor because they're process driven.
Well, that's it. Like in software, like the compiler gives you immediate feedback. You write your code, you submit it, and the beginning engineers go, oh, the compiler's wrong. Well, the likelihood the compiler's wrong is like 1/100th of 1%.
Yeah.
The likelihood that you're wrong is pretty much.
Yeah.
And that difference, that performance versus achievement or knowledge based.
Yes.
Where like an accountant gets a CPA, they know how to do accounting.
That's right.
It's either right or wrong. It's acceptable by the IRS or it isn't.
That's right. It's black and white.
Yeah. Salespeople, a lot of ways of doing it.
Well, and once you have something that works, you actually create a flywheel. So if you have an email that works, that email becomes something you can use over and over. And then you can A/B split test the email or the direct mail piece. Once you have a sales process that works, you can tweak that a little bit. Words matter. The words you use when you're talking to someone, whether it's your initial call or a follow-up call, how you frame things, all those things, you and I could probably talk about this for hours. All those little tweaks work. So you have to be a student of language. You have to be a student of body language. You have to be a student of how to read a room. That's why I always like in enterprise sales, I think it's good to match the number of people on both sides of the table, or at least if you're meeting with 5, at least come with 2 or 3. So somebody can take notes, and while one person's talking, the other one can observe, and you can really have a game plan because there's a lot of body language going on at the buyer's table, right?
And what's the hardest part of your job?
The hardest part of my job is really creating breakthroughs with old dog, new tricks sometimes, right? So salespeople are successful. Generally, good ones are successful. So if someone's making a great living, moving them from where they're at to where they want to go, they'll say all the things, but they don't want to do the things, right? Yeah. So we talk about, and I know this is common out there, so some of you guys may have heard of this, Brian, you might have heard of it, but we talk about quitters, campers, climbers, right? Most salespeople aren't quitters. The ones that are, they wash up someplace, they go, out of sales, right? Yeah. They're distractions. But a lot of salespeople are campers. They work hard. Think about climbing Everest or climbing a mountain. They work really hard. They climb to a point. They have a nice view. They have a great campsite. It's set up. And they do whatever it takes to maintain that. People will work harder to protect the current state than grow to the next state. So they'll just camp. A climber just keeps climbing. So the hardest part of my job is someone who says they want to climb, but they're really comfortable in their camp. So I have to work really hard, or our team has to work really hard with them to find out what's the why, that they want to go up. Is it just a nice to have, or do they really need it? Is their business threatened? Is there a motivation there? So sometimes it's just getting people to move from their position as a camper. They have a beautiful view, right? They have a couple nice cars. They take vacations. Right. Life is good. Our business is residual. So the money's coming every month. They can just maintain it as long as they control attrition. But they'll approach us and say, but I want to sell managed services. I want to sell software, or I want to get into the telco business or the energy business or IoT. There's so many solutions. We just say, pick one and let's find one customer, and then we can expand from there, right? So it's just overcoming the fear of expansion or creating the desire to expand. That's the biggest challenge.
And do you work on the why before the how?
It depends. So I blame Simon Sinek for this. See, because of his famous TED Talk and best-selling book, when you say we got to get to the why, people think about the TED Talk and they think it's like hocus pocus, like Tony Robbins stuff, when it is in fact very true, right? So I think it's reframing it. So we ask different questions around, where do they see their business? We do a basic SWOT analysis during a QBR, just high level. And then we also let them know that they're in good company, that others just like them have made the switch. And it was as easy as 1, 2, 3. And then the why sort of bubbles up. Yeah, it'd be great because we have a big customer that only has one service from us, and there's people selling them IoT, energy, telecom expense management. We feel threatened by that. Okay, great. Let's unpack that a little bit, right? So I think we get to the why without saying, so what's your why?
Right. You have to, find out what fires them. Is it competition? Is it growth? Because they're a camper for a reason. It's comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable. Yeah, well, people work really hard to protect what they have.
Of course, yeah.
Versus attack more to get to what they want. They know how hard it was to get to the camp they're at now, right? They had to climb from down here. They started from the bottom, right? Now they're up here and they're like, I don't want to go back. And sometimes you do have to go back to go forward, right? And we walk people through that. We coach them through that. But the good news is they have a customer base. So the other big challenge that just sort of bubbled up this conversation is we teach people there's only 3 ways to make money in their business: raise prices, go get new customers, very difficult, or upsell, cross-sell to raise the revenue of their current customers. They all say the third one is the easiest, but they have no process for it. They don't have a process to get referrals from their current customers. They don't have a process to explore their base. So that's where we focus. And we tell them very simply that if they're not doing it, someone else, the same way they got that customer, is trying to get to their customer. So they have to build a moat, right? They have to build a moat, and they have to become the guy or the gal, the company, right? Like you and I probably, if I called you and said, hey, Brian, I have a leaky roof, you probably have a guy, or a painter, you probably have a guy or a company. We want them to become the first call for anything that's business service related: software, telco, cybersecurity, payment solutions. We want them to be the first call. So that's the challenge for us is just opening up those pathways in there. It's mental pathways, right? It is.
And I think that's a great way to do it, because if you just show the how, then it's like, okay, yeah, right.
It looks like a lot of work, right?
Looks like a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you make a great point. If the promise isn't clear, the price is hard. But if the promise is clear, the price is easy. They're like, yeah, oh, wow, they're fired up, right? Because now they see why, they see the threat and the opportunity, and they're like, yeah, man, let's go. Let's roll up our sleeves and go. But if we just say, you can make a shit ton of money, they already have money, or they already have success.
Right. Cool. Hey, Tim, that was a great conversation. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm Tim Bassa on LinkedIn, Tim Bassa on Twitter, and on Instagram. You can go to appsmart.com to discover more about AppSmart. I'm not super active on all the socials. The quickest way to connect with me on LinkedIn is just send me a direct message, and I'd love to connect with anybody out there.